So, first step of installing these panels, and again, it's really important that we start out level because that means the rest of our design all the way up the wall is going to be level. So we want to measure or level our floor rather. The floor looks really good. It's level. If it's not, you may have to trim the bottom of the first piece to get that top edge level. So what I mean by that is when we sit our panel on the floor, we want this top edge, and you'll see there's a flange that runs all the way around this male side. That's always going to be facing toward the left. We're starting in the right-hand corner, always working our way from right to left. This top flange, we want to put a level on it and make sure it's perfectly level, and it is. We just check the floor, it's good. So we know that's where our level line is. We can mark a level line off of that height along the wall as you go, and make sure you stay on that as you go. Okay, already done that step. The next step, very important. You want to measure the overall wall length, and then we want to, with the first panel that we start in this corner, we want to cut it, because as you can see, there's a stepped edge on this. We don't want there to be a stepped edge and holes missing in this corner, right? So we're going to cut a flat end off of the first panel and put that right into the corner. You can cut it anywhere around in the middle of the panel, and it's going to reduce waste for you as well. Now, once we have that put in place, we're nice flush in the corner, we're level on the top, we can go ahead and measure from where we want to stop it to the inside edge of this first line. And as you can see, we have about 59¼ inches. Then we're going to go back to our panel and see if we have enough on that piece that we cut off, that we left over. If not, if it's more than the length of the panel, we're going to start on a new piece, which I've done that. We're going to measure 59¼ again from this top, starting on this new panel. This is where this piece is going to meet up with that one. So we're going to hook on with our tape measure. We're going to measure it, mark a line, and cut it. You can see I've already done that. Now, we're going to take this panel and come in and dry fit everything and make sure we have a nice tight fit before we go any further and cut out for holes and put in the glue and screws. Make sure that our measurements are good. So as you can see, these pieces here interlock with each other. It has a tongue and a groove system. So we're going to want to go ahead and line these up and make sure everything locks together nice and tight. Okay, once we make sure we have everything fit, the joint is nice and tight, and the idea of that, this joint being staggered, is so it disappears. You can't see where one board ends and the other one starts, and we're going to stagger them throughout the design. So we have this first course, it looks really nice, it's cut to size, it's level, we're good to go to the next step. Now, in this particular application, we have 2 receptacles for electric that have to be cut into that. So that's going to be, sometimes in your job you're going to have that. I'm going to show you how to do that now. Starting in this first corner, we're going to take measurements from our box. So I like to take my tape and a square. You can use a T-square, a level, whatever you like to use. In this particular case, I'm going to use this T-square, and I'm going to measure from the corner of the wall to the outside of this box, where I'm going to have to make a hole in my panel. We're going to transfer those measurements up a little bit higher than the panel so I can see them, right? I can't see them if I write on the wall down here. Okay, so we measure 16 inches. We transfer it up to here with your square. Mark a line. Same thing on this side of the box, mark a line. Take your measurements. We have 16 inches. And we have 13 3/8. Okay, then we're going to measure from the bottom, from the floor. We have 16 and we have 20. We're going to do the same thing. Right on the bottom of this, 16 inches and 20 inches. Now, bring this back, put it in place, and I like to take a pencil mark and I transfer those measurements right here onto the panel. Okay, now we can take this panel and bring it over to our table and we can make our cuts. Once you do this, it's really not quite as tricky as it seems. I'm going to show you how this is done. So we take our measurements here, we line it up with our T-square, and we're going to transfer those measurements back down to the pound. Measure up from the floor 16 inches. Okay, 16 inches we have right here. Okay, the next one is going to be the height, which is going to be 20 inches. That's the top of the box. Now, unfortunately, it falls right in the bottom, right in the middle of these two panels. Not a big deal because your plate that you're going to put over the receptacle plate is going to cover this little bit of gap. If it really bothers you when you do your layout initially, the only thing you can do to prevent that and try to get your box cut in the middle of one of these is on your first panel, you could trim off the bottom so when you get this hole, it's lined up in the center. It's not that big a deal. I'm going to have a plate that'll cover over this. It's going to look very nice, but that's always a way to compensate for that. Okay, so 16 inches on the bottom we got 20 inches on the top, and then we're going to get our measurements on the side. So we have right here 16 inches to this side, and we have 13 3/8 on this side. Now we'll go ahead and make a square line. I know this looks a little bit complicated, but once you've done one, it's like you'll be a pro. Okay, 20 inches to the top. So I don't know if you can see there, but this is our square, right? We're going to cut this out. That's where our receptacle box is going to go. Okay, now what I like to do is you can either hang this off the end of the table, you can prop it up with something to make it easier for cut, but we're going to want to use our jigsaw to make this cut. So, always easy when you're making a hole like this or a plunge cut. We can't cut straight down with the jigsaw, so it's easy to start off with a couple of holes. You can drill one in each corner of that cutout. It's going to make it easy for you to turn the corner with the blade. Okay, let's take your jigsaw. Again, if you don't have the power tools, you can cut this out with a utility knife, with a handsaw. Because this is foam, it works very, very easily. So I do have a jigsaw here handy. I'm going to go ahead and use that for this.